Can you have your cake and eat it too? Is the cake even worth the price of purchase? Is this metaphor even working? Let's talk about it. What's up, captains? Welcome back to the other decks. My name's Casual Dobo, and today we're going to be doing our review of ST07, the Big Mom starter deck. So in this video, I'm going to be going over why you should play the deck, what are the primary abilities or strategies that come with it, what are some weaknesses that the deck has. I'm also going to be providing a deck list of the cards out of the box, some key strategies, and we're going to be going over my overall assessment review of what I think about the deck itself. And as we're going through this, let me know in the comments down below what you're excited about. Not just, the Big Mom starter deck, but yellow as a whole, just because that is a new color being introduced in the OP03 meta. Anyway, let's get into it. So, why should you play the deck? One, you like recovery mechanics and played yellow in Digimon, which is the whole entire thing of yellow. If you want to explore a new color, this is the deck for you. And if you really enjoy the sort of highs of comeback victories, this is the deck for you. And by comeback victories, I mean, you're honestly manipulating your own life to the point where you're always kind of constantly behind. But honestly, that's a really good thing because it allows you to unlock some of those abilities. And when they hit, they hit. But what are some of those abilities? Let's talk about it now. The primary one is going to be heal / recovery. But essentially, it is, adding life to your life cards area. Now, unlike Digimon, you do have to hit certain thresholds, or there's certain restrictions to it, so it isn't as, in my opinion, overpowered as yellow was in the initial parts of Digimon. Some other abilities from the starter deck, you do have various keywords that kind of trigger based off having lower life than your opponent, kind of those comeback victory moments. There's some forced decision making abilities in here, which is pretty fun, specifically from the Big Mom characters, that forces your opponent to either give you life or take away one of theirs, which is a fun sort of homage to the series. And then there's a lot of value plays that utilize triggers from life. But it's not all roses here, because there are some weaknesses of the Big Mom starter deck. So first of all, you are very susceptible to burst damage towards the end of the match, right? Because based on Big Mom's leader ability, which we'll talk about in a bit, you do kind of maintain 2 life throughout the rest of the game. But if things like double attack, or even just a Zoro that has built up their board pretty nicely, those types of bursts can become, honestly, very detrimental if you don't have anything to prevent them from attacking. And lastly, and this one's kind of a big one, but there is a lack of removal / board control. And if you played in OP02, you know that there were some pretty wide boards out there, at least from the main meta decks. And so to not really have a answer for that is a little bit scary. Now, going over what we get in the box itself. So you do get 1 leader card, 6 1-cost cards, 10 2-cost, 16 3-cost, 8 4-cost, 8 5-cost, and then 2 7-cost cards. There are 32 counters in total in this, including 4 2Ks as well as 2 counter events. And then here is the deck list of everything with the ratios for a single box. And then just going over all the cards. So if you don't know already, Charlotte Linlin, our leader, is a mono yellow leader, 5 cost to play, 5 life. But ability, when attacking Dawn ×2, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand. And then if your life is at 2 or less, you may place up to 1 card from your hand at the top of your life area. So essentially, this allows you to swap cards from your hand and your life, allowing you to do some life manipulation. Maybe you put some triggers onto your life area. And because this is looking at your life after you've taken the card and put it into your hand, that means that you can actually really start utilizing this once you hit the 3 life range. Also, I realized I might have misspoke earlier. I might have said that the card comes from the top of your deck. Actually, the card comes from your hand. So it just allows you to swap things out between your hand and your life area. Anyway, next card I want to talk about is Charlotte Brûlée. So 3 cost to play, 1000 power, counter plus 1k, but it's our blocker. And the beautiful thing about this is Brule is also a trigger blocker. So if you hit Brule from life, comes onto the field. Alright, next up is Charlotte and Nana. This is a 1 cost to play, 3000 power, counter plus 1k vanilla card. Next we have Charlotte Pudding, a very crucial card because this is our 2 cost to play, 3000 power, counter 2k card. But also has a pretty interesting ability, especially if you're going to be playing the other leader in the OPO3 meta category. But on play, look at up to 1 life card from the top of yours or your opponent's life area and put it either at the top or the bottom of the life area. So once again, this is a great way to manipulate your opponent's life just in case they have something crazy that'll be at the top. Something like, a jet pistol that you don't want them to see, or just a character that is, kind of their main engine, the thing that they need to win the game. You can just hide it at the bottom of their life. But also good for us because we actually get to see what's in our life area, and then we can kind of manipulate it in a way that is advantageous for us when we use Big Mom's ability. Knowledge is power. Alright, next up, and these are cards that kind of are very unique and specific to Big Mom herself, but Zeus is 3 cost to play, 3000 power, counter plus 1k. By activate main, you can rest this card. Up to 1 of your Charlotte Linlin gain banished during this turn. And then trigger, play this card. Kind of paired with Zeus is Prometheus. So Prometheus is also a 3 cost to play, 3000 power, counter plus 1k. And then activate main, you can rest this card, and up to 1 of your Charlotte Linlin gain double attack during this turn. And then trigger, play this card. So both of these allow your Big Mom, more accurately, your Charlotte Linlins, that includes your leader and your characters, to have banish or double attack or both. Yes, it leaves them susceptible to attack on the next turn, but if you can deal your damage, and it's a good amount of damage too, then these are honestly very solid plays. And as you play your 7 cost Big Mom, which we'll talk about later, or in the actual OPO3 set, the 10 cost Big Mom, these cards work for them as well. Next up is Flampe, so 2 costs to play, 4000 power, counter plus 1k vanilla. Next one's a pretty interesting card. So this is Montior, so 3 costs to play, 4000 power, counter plus 1k, but activate main. You can rest this character and take the card at the top or bottom of your life area to your hand. KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters that costs 3 or less. So this is a unique cost for the removal, right? Because you can KO something that's 3 or less, which, is typically some of your lower end blockers, which is pretty helpful, especially when we just talked about the double attacking, banishing Big Mom stuff. But it allows you to take a card from your life, add to your hand, so a sort of unique type of draw, and it puts you in what typically would be a disadvantageous, I think is the word I was looking for. Typically not great to have lower life than your opponent, but in the case of yellow, there are some abilities that actually kind of activate because of that restriction. And so Montior is actually kind of helping us in a very unique way. Obviously we can't do it too many times because we just run out of life, but that is sort of the risk reward that you kind of play by playing this deck. Next up is Peckham's, and this is a 3 cost to play, 5000 power, counter plus 1k vanilla. Moving on to the next one, we have Daifuku. So this is 4 cost to play, 5000 power, counter plus 1k. But Dawn times 1, when attacking, you can take 1 card from the top or bottom of your life area and put it into your hand. Then put up to 1 card from the top of your deck onto the top of your life area. So very similar to the leader Big Mom ability, but this one is actually interacting with your life area and your deck instead. So honestly, it's kind of like just roundabout drawing. Next up, and this one's a pretty crucial one, 4 cost to play, 6000 power, Charlotte Katakuri. No counter, but on play, look it up to 1 life card from the top of yours or your opponent's life area and put it either at the top or the bottom of the life area. Then, if you have less life cards than your opponent, this character gains rush. So using things like Daifuku, like Montior, you can actually get into the state and then be able to play a 4 cost 6000 power attacker with rush, which honestly is pretty powerful. Next up, another vanilla, Baron Tamago, 4 cost to play, 6000 power, counter plus 1k. Honestly, this is pretty nice, especially since I know the boat has been banned for Whitebeard, but I still predict Whitebeard is going to be a little prominent in the meta, so look out. Natural attacker into Whitebeard is very nice. Next up we have Charlotte Snack, 5 cost to play, 6,000 power, no counter, but ability, Dawn ×1. When attacking, you may add the top or bottom card of your life area to your hand. This character gains Banish, and 1,000 power for this battle. So a 7k attacker with Banish? That's not bad, that's pretty good. And once again, it's another one of those strategies that's really helping you activate your category. And then the last character on here is going to be our 7 cost Charlotte Linlin, aka Big Mom. And this is a 7 cost to play, 8,000 power, no counter, but on play, your opponent chooses one from below. Either trash one life card from the top card of your opponent's life area, or put one card from the top of your deck on top of your life area. So essentially this is asking if our opponent wants to give us the one life, or if they're willing to risk it and take one out and trash it. And if you've seen anything from any of my other sort of meta videos, you know that I like to give my opponent decision points to make, because the more things that they have to think about, the more they're kind of just off track on their own strategy. And so from a strategic standpoint, really love this card. Next up is Power Emoji, 1 cost counter event. So counter, look at up to 1 life card from top of your or your opponent's life area and put it either at the top or the bottom of the life area. Then up to one of your leader or characters gains plus 2k power for this battle. And then trigger, draw 1, look it up to 1 life card from top of yours or your opponent's life area and put it either at the top or the bottom of the life area. So honestly, pretty solid, but also pretty standard 1 cost counter. Next up, a fascinating event card, Soul Focus. So 5 costs to play, main ability, your opponent chooses one from below, either trash a life from the top card of your opponent's life area, or put 1 card from the top of your deck onto the top of your life area. And then also trigger, activate this one's main ability. This is essentially the event form of the 7 cost Big Mom. And then lastly, we do have the Queen Mama Chanter, which is our stage card, 2 costs to play, activate main, rest the stage, and then you can add 1 card from top or bottom of your life area to your hand. Then place up to 1 of your characters that cost 3 on top of the owner's life area face up. Which is really cool because there's 3 main cards that you really want to take a look at with this, and that's going to be your Charlotte Brûlée, who's our trigger blocker, as well as Zeus and Prometheus, who after you activate them, use on your Big Mom to power her up, you can then use the Big Mom Enchanter to bring them safely into life, so that if your opponent swings into it, they attack, trigger, play the cards again. Alright, so that is everything that is in the box. Now, what do I actually think about the starter deck? So, the way we usually do this is we judge it by power out of the box, upgrade ability, and then number of staple cards the deck actually has. So, power out of the box. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I actually really like the deck out of the box, and I actually think that this sort of like Charlotte Linlin support is very fascinating. And the ability, while it is a little expensive, it's at least relevant and usable. I'm looking at you, Leader Sakazuki. And I'm going to be honest with how rampant Whitebeard was. I'm not surprised that we didn't see a whole lot of Charlotte Linlin, just because I feel like yellow in general really likes to be sort of behind your opponent, and there's really no getting behind a Whitebeard deck when they're just constantly burning their own life after every turn, right? So now that the boat has been banned and maybe there's a little bit less Whitebeard, maybe we actually get to see some Charlotte Linlin in action. Now let's talk about upgradability. 5 out of 5, 100%. Like, honestly, it's very similar to the Navy, right? All of this support for the Big Mom stuff is in OP03. 10 cost Big Mom honestly takes this leader to the next level. And if you don't know what it does, here it is on the field now, or on the screen now. 10 cost to play, 12,000 power, but on play, if your leader has the Big Mom Pirates type, place up to 1 card from the top of your deck at the top or bottom of your life. Then trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life. This is crazy because not only does it heal you, it also hurts your opponent, which is probably, honestly, I'm not going to say it's unfair because this is the only card that does it so far, but that ability is nuts. if you're facing yellow and you see this thing come onto the board and you're already losing, that it's really hard to come back, to be honest. But that's honestly not the only card in OP03 that makes this really awesome. You also get a Big Mom Searcher in Pudding, and Prospero, who honestly really takes it to the next level because Prospero on KO can also search your deck for Big Mom stuff. And really, we all know what you're trying to look for. It's a 10 cost Big Mom. Honestly, for this particular question of upgradability, I would argue that this deck is too upgradable, as the whole deck is kind of replaced by OP03 support. And I do think that Katakuri is still probably the better yellow leader, but I think it might be actually closer than you think. So keep your eyes on Big Mom. Now let's talk about stable cards that you get out of this box, and I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Listen, there's, in terms of the meta stuff, 3 out of the 16 cards meta, or at least the most relevant for a lot of the meta decks that I've seen floating around. Your blocker, your 2k counters, and your 7 cost Big Mom, because I do think that that does have a place in a lot of decks. And then of the remaining 13, only 2 of them are flex considerations. Rush Katakuri, and then I would argue Big Mama Chanter. It's not a whole lot. Like I said, 2 upgradable. But overall, what do I think? Score 10 out of 15. So honestly, that is a pretty solid rating. And if you're excited about yellow, then it is worth picking up, especially if you can find it in that sort of $15 to $20 range. Obviously best at MSRP, but you know how it is. And while most of the OP03 yellow decks run a lot of the support from the set itself, the 7 cost Big Mom as well as the blocker Brule are very solid pickups in this box. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. Do you think yellow is going to be a main player in the OP03 meta? Do you think that people are going to finally give this starter leader a shot in the meta? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, as we're going to be covering more OP03 as we lead up to its launch in the English meta. And if you want to check out another starter deck review, be sure to check out this video here. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And captains, remember, build what you like, play what you love, and I'll catch you in the next video.